on. Sonny's mic is making a shitload of noise. Yeah, sorry for that's actually not that late. It's like 12:02. Yeah, I feel like shit. These last 2 weeks, literally, I've been like off and on sick, and I just feel like the cough's getting worse. It's kind of weird. I guess it could be like long COVID. I don't really know the ramifications of what that is. I've just heard the term, and I've had COVID recently, so. But I did want to recap this sell we took on BNB. Now, this is something that we talked about on the Twitter for free. Of course, I didn't give the signal on Twitter because, you got to hop in the server for that. But for those who have been paying attention in the streams and who are, striving to be traders their own, hopefully at least some of you guys were able to capitalize off that. So if I go here, I'll just I gave it pretty clear. See, it was right there. All right. We didn't get the sweep as I wanted, but I did just look for the market structure. The sweep would have been just kind of bonus. And you can see that very soon after this, we executed in the server. So I kind of give you guys a hint. Now I'll show you the picture here because that doesn't show you the picture. And what we had here was a nice power of 3 setup. So a lot of people think that power of 3 is much more complicated than it really is, when in essence it's just an accumulation before we tap into a POI. So let's go ahead and hop into this on a different chart that's clean, so we can get a better view of it. So you guys know I talk about the market structure shifts a lot. So there is our framework for believing the market is reaching down. All right, so if we're going to trade a low time frame setup, if the market's reaching lower, we know that it's most likely going to go below the host or below the low, since that is the low. And if we're going to reach lower than this shift, we don't have to necessarily get the very bottom or wherever it's shifting towards in order to capitalize off of that bias. So we gain the bias from this shift. That's where we have our idea. So an idea is only half of the work. So whenever we identify that we're shifting lower, we say, okay, well, what kind of points of interest can we use to execute on this idea? Sorry, I'm going to try my best to not cough and stuff, but it's probably going to happen. I got this fair value gap right here. I'll extend this out just a little bit. So as price comes into the fair value gap, we know that there is a chance that we are going to move down from this gap. Again, we need to confirm that. So how can we confirm that? Well, I like to explain it that, as a trader, you have many different tools to get the job done. So some people use supply and demand. Some people will just use a choke. Some people have their own strategies they've devised. There's market maker sell and buy models, and then there's power of 3. What I focus on is just a market structure shift, like a smart money reversal, market maker models, and power of 3. So I'm on the lookout for any one of those 3, excuse me, any of one of those 3 setups as we come into our framework. Because again, this is just the idea. We need to execute based off of a trade model. So first thing I saw here was the nice little consolidation we made right here. Now, when we draw that out, we know that there's a lot of traders that are just kind of hanging out in here. Not really too much going on except for liquidity building. People that are trading retail are looking at this as a push to the downside, as in we're going to break this low, and this is now resistance. So they're going to be shorting all through here, and their stop losses are going to be right there. So that's the accumulation phase. Here's the overall target. I'll just draw it here. So as we consolidate, price isn't going to just immediately rapidly move down as most would wish. We know that, as our strategy says, we're going to wait for it to come up into the fair value gap. So as it comes to the fair value gap, we notice that we have now cleared out all of the liquidity resting in this range. So what happens if stops are ran? What kind of market cycle is that? If the true move is to go in the way they intended it, but they get stopped out of their trade, that is what you call manipulation. So here is where we as price action traders look to get involved. This is where we're going to find our opportunities. So to confirm the power of 3, we just need to, again, use our tools that the market is searching for something lower. Just like we use the 1 hour here, we can go in and hop in a 5-minute and say, hey, nice displacement under that low. So you see we took that low with force. It wasn't just a small little tick, and it pushed through the low with force. Displacement is probably the only discretionary part of my strategy that is prevalent, at least. I mean, there's all sorts of different discretionary stuff, like what is market structure, what is a high and what's a low, etc. But displacement is one of the things you kind of just got to learn. So if we look here, we then come down into the fair value, or we come up into the fair value gap. I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna mess around with my colors to make them a little cleaner. So we come to that fair value gap. Now, this is the trade. This is the execution. We got entered in right there because the way I trade these, I just set my limit right at the beginning of that fair value gap. I might not get this on the exact pip, but you guys are going to get the point. And I'm going to use my stop loss as the high right there. Now, I went up a couple pips. I think it was 335.7. So I always on crypto, I just go up 5 ticks. So at that point, again, our idea is that we're searching for this low. So where's our target going to be? This low. And you can trim along the way because, let's see, I need to draw it out a couple more actually. So you can target along the way because it's I think it was 4R on perps. May have been 4.2. We can check in a second. And you can target along the way in case you're wrong. And Silent just asked a really good question. There's actually going to play into what I'm going to explain and why I chose the first target. And he said, how come this worked since it didn't come into a premium? Because it was only in the H1 fair value gap. So you're right. And that was why my first target profit was, I think it was either this imbalance. Yeah, I think it was that right there. So why did I select that? Well, if I take a fib from the expansion, because, we could look at this. If we're not looking at the framework of the 1 hour, we could say that this is a shift up because we're going to move back into a premium. Now, I want you to notice we didn't have any high resistance run on liquidity, meaning we didn't take the low after. So that makes that unlikely, but it's still possible. So when I see this, some kind of POI, right at optimal trade entry in the opposing narrative. So when I say that, I mean, if I'm wrong, this is where the trade would be to go the other way. Or that's what I would look for, because you look, that's where you expanded from. Just like we have a market structure shift up here, we can say the same thing down here when you have optimal trade entry. Now, while I was thinking that wouldn't happen, I was looking at that as, okay, that's probably not going to happen, but I'm still going to be mindful that I'm wrong all the time. It's part of trading. So I want to make sure I account for it. So I'm going to be shaving off along the way. So we took profits at these equal lows, just another area of liquidity. And then down here was the final take profit. Actually, hold on, my mind's blank. Was there a, no, there wasn't a third take profit. So now this part of the trade is the distribution. So again, that's just a really clean example of the AMD or the power of 3, whatever you want to call it. Let me draw this actually down here. And, yes, we might go lower, but the risk to reward was fine here. And I hope this helps with a clean example of how to actually execute, because a lot of these people that are teaching on Twitter don't really actually do this. They just look at ICT pictures and they look at the next person on Twitter and they're just, copying what they're doing. And anybody can do this and say, okay, market structure shift, here, and they're going to get, a couple hundred retweets. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. I mean, I post info, educational stuff, but one thing I did notice, because I wasn't really active on social media up until the last 8 months or so. And one thing I noticed was people just, that's all they did. There's no execution. And then there's this bullshit narrative in SMC that, oh, I don't give signals because I want you. No, it's because you can't, right? People that can perform they're usually going to do so, right? They're on social media for a reason, and I'm keeping 100 with you guys. You know, you're either there to build an audience. How do you build an audience? By giving value, right? This is valuable, and the stuff we go over is valuable, but if you don't know how to use it, you know, it's not really that valuable, and it actually can be more detrimental than valuable. And newsflash, a lot of these guys, they're not even using it. There are a good amount of people that are. I'm not saying everybody that's on Twitter is bullshit, but I am saying that most of them are. Most people just watched the 2022 ICT mentorship for the first time, had never heard of smart money concepts, and now they are a professional demo trader. So hopefully that helped with this setup. And again, this was the actual analysis. Excuse me, guys. I'm really sorry. I know it's gross to me cough all the time. But let me read these comments. He said, please do DAX. I said, fuck. I'm not going to say it. I feel like YouTube's going to censor me. Yo, Casper, I'm stuck with some soul in my bag. What do you think? Should I DCA? Ooh, it's a hard one. You know, to be honest, I wouldn't be, but you know, it's you're between a rock and a hard place. Because I will say with Solana, there's a level we've talked about for literally, we talked about this other day, and I said I don't really want to touch this until we take out all these lows. Now look where we're at, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, we're just going to recover from here. You know, as I've said for a long time, those of you in play but know, Sol is a trash blockchain. It's fucking garbage, and I don't think it will last. Yeah, it's already gone through this, so I don't know. Send it to 0 at this point. I'm sorry to say that because I know you're in there. I don't mean to be like insensitive, but I wouldn't DCA. Personally, I think it's just a useless blockchain. And I think it was just like FTT. It was just another tool for Alameda to manipulate people. And while this is bad for the space right now, and probably for some time as far as confidence in, you know, institutions and other things, I think SBF had to go. I mean, he's a piece of fucking shit. His whole MO was just to manipulate people. I mean, they literally created FTT just to generate revenue for themselves. You know, he's a liar, says he's an altruist, but meanwhile, he's liquidating millions of people. And, you know, I don't feel bad for him at all. I think they had everything coming to him. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this go lower. You know, the original idea that I wanted to see, you know, before all this madness happened was these lows get taken and have a nice reversal in this fair value gap. Now, we have already blasted through that. Now, I'm not saying it won't reverse, right? Kept that low. It definitely could move up. I'm just giving you my personal outlook that this is not something I would want to look at until I get a shift on the daily. Now, if I get a shift on the daily here, I'm not going to be personally against it because I don't like Solana. But for me, a shift on the daily is a displacement break above $38. So, you know, take that as you wish. Now, this could be a massive spring, and we might start to form structure, you know, here and do this, and then give a shift. Then, okay, you know, we've got our shift, and I might look to start longing or doing that. But until then, I see zero reason to buy. I think the buy the dip mentality is good in a bull market. It is not meant to be used anytime something dips, especially in a bear market, whenever a massive catalyst was the cause of it. LM said he never trusted Sam. He's got boobs. I'm not sure what that entails, but okay. And also, like Wilmy said, I'm not fact checking this. I just know that there is a lot of soul going to be unstaked. I don't know if it already was. I thought it already was, but I have no idea. I haven't kept up with the details and facts. What's up, 0? MC said all this shit the past year is great for crypto long term, and we needed to shake out the snakes and crooks. Yeah, I think that long term crypto will be okay, but I do think that if you went on this list of stuff that, you know, at once was, you know, the coolest metaverse token or the best staking token or the best DeFi token, I think 80% of that shit is never going to see remotely close to its all-time highs again. So it's just like, you know, a lot of people are new to crypto. For those of you who are like me, who are a part of the 2017 run, you guys know how that goes. I mean, I don't know if a lot of people realize, I mean, Neo and Bitcoin Cash used to be some of the biggest coins. And, you know, let's take a look at, you know, those after this last bull run. This is what you're going. That's what you need to get used to, because this is what you're going to see with a lot of stuff. Now, this isn't even showing this was the high. And there was one, the charts were different. There's a lot of arbitrage that went on with this in 2017, because one chart went to like 3K and one to 4K, but you're never going to see that again. Most likely, I could be wrong. Who knows? I might, come back in a year and it's 400, or 4,000% or whatever that it would be. I think that's actually much more than that. No, it's about, yeah. So that's what you're going to see with a ton of cryptos. So I asked if I could comment on ES and NOS. Let's see what they're doing. I wanted them originally. We took the previous daily low. We actually took a trade on ES this morning and then got break even. I personally didn't trim. I alerted for people to potentially trim, but it was. Let me see. Did I hide the thing? Hold on. Yeah, it was right here. We got break even right there. I'll go over that really quickly. So the overall bias there, and this one is a little shaky. We had this shift, which I tweeted about, which I wasn't really too sure if that was going to be a shift or a liquidity raid, just due to the reaction there. Yes, there's displacement here, but there's also, in its own way, displacement out of that zone after we hit into a fair value gap. So it's previous daily low as well, but price kind of reacted here. And then we had seen this shift right here. So that's what was telling me this morning the price was going down here. It was on that staircase down. So another thing that I did was take a fib from this London high we made. That we didn't take out the Asian range, which wasn't ideal, but indices are a little, kind of got to take it with a grain of salt. But we came to optimal trade entry, right? Another shift in market structure on the 15-minute. So then I jumped down to the 5-minute, and price head came up right here and took the low right here. So once we came back in this fair value gap, which we opened it right around on here, I was looking for that retracement. Originally, one thing that I do regret that I wish I'd done is I was just going to set a limit above this high. This is something I've been experimenting with. If I get my low resistance run on liquidity in the fair value gap, if I'm very confident in the setup, you just to set your limit at that liquidity, like a turtle soup model. And still use a stop loss a little different, like how I was going to at the high resistance run right here. And then price came up a little bit, gave us a nice push down after the open, and then went to break even at this point right here. I hate how it does that. At this point, after price pushed away, I told the team to break even your stops, because if we go above that, we're most likely going here and then here. So there's no reason to let the trade just clear you for no reason. And the trade went all the way down here, almost to the previous daily low, break even, and then went to it. So, that's kind of the way indices go sometimes, to be honest. You can't really be mad at it. Now, looking back, I do see why. And in hindsight, I see this, but I will pay attention to this in the future. I was using the standard deviations of the Asian range for the targeting, and I was looking at this like, okay, that's right near the 100%, because I wasn't looking on the 5-minute. I should have been. The 15 minutes where I was looking, and I said, okay, well, this order block, if it goes below that, as far as this order block goes, I would, look for lower, but I ended up being incorrect. And the target could have been this imbalance. That would have been, but at the same time, to be honest, that wouldn't have been really worth a trade. So break even trade, no harm done. Sucks to see it, but it's not the end of the world. I was watching afterwards, and the 1 hour is pretty fucked up from last week. So, this is the way I have my 1 hour drawn right here. That's the most recent displacement points. We are in a premium. We've got a shift, but I just, maybe we protect this for later, because this was the FOMC. I'm going to hide this. It's clean. The FOMC wick. So, I look at that as a point of a lot of stops. There's an imbalance just above it. So for me, any shifts here, I'm not going to try to look to short all the way down into the bottom of the range just yet. And I could be wrong, right? That's why I was pretty aggressive with that target, because I wouldn't be surprised to see us, maybe come down a little bit, maybe from here or wherever, and get one of those nice rapid indice manipulation moves, and potentially even go higher. Because again, as you guys know, my overall bias in high time frames is bullish. I still want us to move to the upside. So we're in a tough spot. Excuse me. We have the daily impulse swing that brought us back down to this order block. We came up to a premium of it. And again, we do have, this one's arguable. I tweeted about this too. It's It's one of those that you could look at either ways. And this is where it's discretionary. And I will say that I'm not extremely confident in that shift. So me personally, I see it as potential just liquidity right into that. We did take the low. So again, just the next really big displacement in the 1 hour is going to be a little more key. But I could see this making a little move to the upside and then moving down after coming into this imbalance or this right here. The fact that we came down and took out this London low tells me that this is not going to be a super solid buy day. I could be wrong, indices, but I'm looking at it as more of like consolidation into sells in the PM. So that's kind of where I'm at with ES. Or it could, flip side, it could just come up, it could dump from here, it could come up into this gap because we're getting a lot of wicks, but the displacement is saying down as of now on this lower time frame as well. So nothing too pretty yet for longs. Because this right here, if we look at this 5-minute shift, it's already kind of played out. So it came up, came into the fair value gap, this order block, came back up into where? Wait, wrong thing. Filled an imbalance from the last displacement. So, but everything's kind of fickle right now. Like this isn't a clear, kind of came down, moseyed around, then pipped a low. So again, this is one of those days where I like this setup. The bias was right. We just got, it's kind of how indices go sometimes. But it's one of those where I'm not super, super clear on it intraday. So I'm probably not going to mess with it until I am. I think that it's really important to, if you feel like that, don't trade. It's just really not worth it because even if you're a very good trader, the days that you do that are going to be the days that lower your, even if you're profitable and you're wondering, okay, how am I going to be, how am I going to be, I guess, polishing my craft or getting better at every angle. A lot of times it's just for not taking those trades. And also, OG Chris said Solana has 54 million tokens that have been unstaked tomorrow. Okay. Being unstaked tomorrow. NASDAQ, I will say, looks a little more bearish, but no imbalance there because we came up. We had talked about this in the Discord a little bit. And I think on stream that I wanted to kind of this imbalance. It was a little clearer target than ES. But again, it's not the cleanest price action with this. Now, if this candle closed, even the littlest bit below that, then I would be looking for shorts all the way. I would be shorting playing the 5-minute. But again, just not seeing it that way. This range is super fucked. I think I had it. Where was it? No, yeah, this is right here. That's what I need to draw it because I had drawn that for the impulse move. Oops. Which one made a high? I think it was this one. Yeah. So again, same thing here. There's just a lot of liquidity built up over that FOMC high. And then a fair value gap right above it. So we talked to this in the private class, but briefly, if I'm looking at a range, I'm building my bias. If there's internal liquidity in a range, there's, in my opinion, always a chance that it gets swept. Never for sure, but the probability of shorting from here all the way down to the range would be a possible success, but a lower probability than if this didn't happen. So I will trade based off that. But the NASDAQ is showing more displacement on the downside. If I had to lead one way, I would say down with this. Yeah, it seems like these pumps are just mitigating, and overall, another down move is kind of imminent. Look at some of these questions. Wami said we took the same trade. Sorry, excuse me. I know I'm coughing a bunch, but if you guys want the stream, it's going to be COVID. Yeah, that's another thing that I haven't brought up is we have CPI tomorrow. So it's, kind of sometimes the calm before the storm. That's going to be more, clear direction. And again, when we're looking at these buys, like we had, like there's opportunities for buys. This would have been a lower time frame, but what are they doing? They're just retracements. And going up to optimal trade entry and then moving to the downside. So we haven't did we not take the low here yet? Yeah, we did. Never mind. I was going to say that would be clear. So again, I would have to leave more downside, but I'm not really confident in this price action right now. So I said, I thought you said bull run to time and bottom is in yesterday on stream. Yeah, like I said, so going back over that on Bitcoin and stuff, obviously we had a massive dump after that. We were looking for a daily shift in this zone. So we don't get that until, same thing with Solana, until we have that weekly idea, which that hasn't changed or been invalidated. Right? We're still sitting in the optimal trade entry. But in order to confirm it, we got to have daily displacement up to the upside. And then layer that through all the time frames to confirm that the order flow is bullish, because obviously right now it's not. I can't look at my trades. It's actually a good thing. Like when I'm trading on Binance, I can't trade, or I can't really look at my trades without like signing in my VPN, all this stuff. So it's kind of nice. Thanks, Amar is doing well. Kind of wish I'd have held his runner on those BNB shorts. Just to recap this trade more on here, the overall bias we talked about in stream for a while. I think it was like a 4-hour market maker sell model. It was a sloppy one. So I looked at a possible consolidation down here. Then we had this expansion, the original smart money manipulation, which this is not the cleanest. And then what we got in was what you call the high probability sell. So for instance, you see the first smart money reversal. I'm just going to delete these boxes. It's really not necessary. The first, wait, damn, where? Oh, it's in the daily. That's why. The first smart money reversal, let me go on a daily so we can be clear. It was right there. That was where we got that first displacement shift. Now, what caused that? And we didn't have an imbalance in a premium, so we look at the order block. And we weren't trading this, but price came up, got our second shift, right? So that's the second leg of distribution. So we're looking for price to return up into this zone, just like we have that bias we built on the 1 hour BNB, like we talked about at the beginning of the video. We've built a bias on the daily here. So to execute that, I'm going to use the 1 hour. Now, I could have layered it for multiple confirmations, but to me, I was okay with the market maker sell model on the 1 hour. So again, similar price action. We've got a consolidation, our little expansion move, smart money reversal, second leg of distribution. Right, because here was the original reversal. The low risk sell would have been here. It seems like XMR loves order blocks. Right there. Right. Then what happens? The second leg down. So we look for entries based off of this bit of price. Could have got a little bit of better entry, but to me, this wasn't that clear. And the risk to reward was good enough. And this is a good example because people sometimes be like, oh, like, maybe if the trade was right here, they'd be like, damn, I missed XMR. And I'm like, not really. I mean, if the trade targets are very far away, you can still enter the trade. It's just going to be a little different risk to reward. Because this overall is a 15R trade. And you guys have also heard me talk about, stay away from trying to get high R. Well, this is an example where you can get high risk to reward. And you need to identify those because they can be very beneficial. For instance, if this could make up for, this will pass a challenge first off, but this can make up for a lot of mistakes that you may have made, or give you that boost where you might be done trading for the month or the week or whatever. If I hit this on a funded account, you guys wouldn't have a trade for me in probably 2 weeks, to be honest with you. That's actually complete bullshit. I would still trade, but I wouldn't trade as my risk. Listen to me. I love trading. Yeah, and again, what is the context of that model? Why are we looking for to sell on the daily? Well, we came up to the daily premium. It's happening inside imbalances. So the order flow and the algo itself is kind of seeking a different type of liquidity. So here's the curve. We're on the sell side of the curve, right? The market is now seeking out sell side liquidity, so it's going down. So, once that is the case, you just look at price as kind of like a staircase and where are you going to get in, because there's tons of opportunities. That's why it's really important to learn how to build bias, Because once you build bias, you might miss a trade, but you just continuously find another execution until your bias is met. And the closer you get to that fulfillment of your bias, the higher risk the trades go. So that's why this is a low risk setup, because your invalidation point's right here. This is a high probability setup because we have a double confirmation, but there is a possibility to come pip that high and then move all the way down, and you'd just be big sad. Can I look at it? Gold. Yeah. I really want to see, it's just chilling. I really would like to see you guys might call me crazy on this, but this is potential. I would like to see a shift on the weekly with displacement. Now, this would be a 2 week from now formation, because we not just need to see the shift, we need to see how the candle after it forms and if we form a fair value gap. If we form a fair value gap, I'll probably look for options and I'll load up a Tasty Works or something on some gold related stocks. I also think with the recession coming, we see bull runs in energies and metals. And if we look at energy, we obviously know because of the Ukraine crisis, that has been a massive move. If we look at stocks like Exxon, and I want to share this with you guys on the monthly. So here's a good example, and I don't know why this is drawn up higher, of a accumulation, manipulation, distribution on the higher time frame. And if we look, there are key economic and contemporary issues that have occurred at key levels. So price comes down, right? Takes the lows over here. That's your manipulation. We also took all these lows. So you have accumulation. This is, mind you, this is from, let me make it a little shorter, because really this is the range. Accumulation since July of 2010, after the last, housing market crash and the recovery of the oil market. And we kind of accumulated through here, and then a massive push down underneath this level. Excuse me. Where we had a immediate shift up. Now look what happens here on the monthly chart. This price break to the upside. Now what do you come back down into? Valley. Fair value gap. So, anything's possible. People would have priced this shows crazy too if you showed some of that. This also took, an entire 2 years to complete, but just an idea of what could happen. I really wanted to see S&P take those highs above this right here. That was just such like a violent reaction off the just the tiniest pip right there. So I was looking at this. We did take the high there, but again, it just still looks like an area of stop losses. But to be honest, the more I think about it, that was the optimal trade entry retracement. So we get that New York expansion, and then another most likely optimal trade entry. We're probably not gonna continue to the upside. It looks like a pretty clean sell day. So depending on how the price action goes in the little bit after lunch, I might take another trade if we can get a nice rate on liquidity, either here, or if we somehow just kind of maybe move this and then get something like this. And now the risk to reward, I would need to be good. I'd probably be targeting this low. But we'll see how it plays out. I already took the previous daily low. Usually I like to play those setups in the afternoon. And I definitely won't force anything if I don't feel super confident. Because we got break even this morning. It's been a fucking hell of a week. We took a loss on KSM, and we took a loss on RSR. And that's okay. We took a break even on Monday with S&P. And then we had a beautiful, that XMR trade we just went over in the BNB. So pretty solid week so far. So I don't want to get out here and get euphoric and start, making that great week into an okay week. So trying to stay aware of that. Yeah, it's just like, let's just watch this. Now I'm not going to trade this, but this is more for education. I'm just curious to see how this plays out. Now, here comes people longing it because this is low probability. And why is this low probability? Just because it's against the bias. I don't really like the setup enough to take it personally. I just want to watch price action and see how it reacts. Because, and just an example, what I see, we had this fair value gap here from that previous daily low sweep. Well, 3 drive, 1, 2, 3, shift and structure, fair value gap. So now and this is just kind of giving an inside look at what I look for when I am trading. If I'm looking at the 5-minute, so what's the nearest draw on liquidity? Well, the market's showing that it's potentially reaching higher. Again, it's low probability because we're already came into this range right here. The true range of price is right here. We've already came to an optimal trade entry. So there's not really a reason to come back up into here. And that's kind of an example of what I would look at as a low probability trade, but it's possible. So then these are trades I try to journal and just see how price moves. So I get questions like, what do you mean, like, just watch? It's like, just watch, literally. Like, if it's wrong and you look at it and say, okay, I'm glad I didn't take it. But it gives you a awareness and a power too. Like, once you do that, the first couple of times you realize, you're like, hey, like, I don't have to sit here and trade. I don't have to sit here and just, the stock market can be really bad for people because you look at it like it's a positive to look at it in the sense like you have a very fixed time that you trade. So you say, okay, this is awesome. Like, I've got my hours, my trading hours. I come here and I just trade those hours and I leave. And that is great. But what it can do is it instills the need to trade during those hours. So you sit on your desk and you're like, you've made the decision that you're going to take a trade that morning or that day, that there's going to be a trade and that you're going to take it. Now, I said, that's me. Yeah, that's a problem because there's not always going to be a trade. And let's just say if you have 5 days in the week and 3 days there's a trade, you get break even once, you get stopped once, and then you hit one trade for 3R. So you're up 2R in the week. Well, let's say on those other 2 days, there really wasn't a trade that was in your model. You were just itching to get in one. So you take 2 trades and you take 2 losses. Now you're at break even. So that's how that happens. And it's a real thing. Over trading is probably one of the biggest killers of people that are skilled, as far as being good analysts. But the psychology comes in when you feel like you have to trade and the market's going to leave without you, and you miss the opportunity. Or people like, fuck, I missed the fucking shorts earlier. Like, that mentality is what's going to separate successful traders from analysts. Because I know a lot of people who are great analysts. I'm sure you guys do too, but they're awful traders, and you never know it, and you'll never see it. You might see it if they fuck up and show too much inside, but a lot of these people, it's not hard to learn how to be an analyst. Anybody that is fairly intelligent, if they put enough time into it, you can learn how to analyze charts. It's market structure, liquidity. It's not, that part is the easy part. The hard part, and what determines if you're valuable as a trader to your, if you are able to implement your strategy and make it a valuable job or a business, is how you think while you're doing it and what you allow yourself to do in terms of risk management and how you look at trading. Like, if you look at trading like it's just like every day there's a huge opportunity and you got to make all the money in the world, and if you didn't, then you suck. Well, you're going to suck. That it's okay to take a loss, it's okay to have a losing day or a week, but how you handle that is going to translate into what type of trader you are. Because if you get hard on yourself, like, one thing I used to have a really big problem with everything, not just trading, was just being super hard on myself. Trying to be a perfectionist, trying to always be right, or not be never fuck up. And especially whenever if you're out here like me giving signals, that's one thing that I am appreciative of, that because it taught me that it's okay to be wrong. And there's going to be people that bitch and complain, and it's going to be the same people that fucking are hooraying when you win. So, you have to be not afraid to lose, because as soon as you let go of being afraid of losing or being afraid of not trading or any of that, that's when you're going to actually get close to where you want to be. It's not going to be analysis or watching ICT or watching my streams. It's going to be sitting there when it's just you and making right decisions that really internally you should fucking make. Most people, when you're making a mistake, or when a trade is not a good trade and you're kind of just forcing it, and you're not aware of your emotions. If you can become emotionally aware, you'll save yourself a lot, because you'll say, hey, like, I'm feeling like pretty amped up right now. Like, maybe, like, well, let's look at this and see, what is actually going on, not what I want to happen. So there's my daily rant. I go on one like every day, but hopefully it helps. Somebody said ICT got stopped today. Yeah, it happens to everybody. I'm sure you get stopped all the time, like we just talked about. It's great, perfect timing. It's a nice, that's a good example of like looking at that. You can say, oh, market structure shift in a fair value gap, but you don't want to trade it. You just want to watch it, because this is what can happen. Because yes, the model was there. Yes, there's an imbalance there. Yes, it's possible, but is it probable? No. But newer traders are going to say, like, let's just opposite. Let's just rewind this, and let's say, it did go down. Oh, Casper, we should have took that. Fuck, dude. I should have fucking taken that. Now, if it did that, then I wouldn't give a shit, because I know that I'm not going to take that. But you can learn from it, and you can watch price and say, and what it's going to do. The reason I recommend you watch it is next time you have it where you're looking at it and you're like, okay, well, we've already came back to premium in the range. We've really taken all the internal liquidity. We're on the sell side of the curve. There's not really a reason to go up. It's possible, and we can study it, but it's not probable. So whenever this happens, you're going to, next time that you're sitting there trying to trade, you're going to say, okay, maybe I should just not take this. And because the last time I sat there and journaled it did give me my entry model, and I had a reason, but it wasn't that probable. And that thought process has saved me a lot of money and hardship, especially trying to get funded, because if you don't look at things in probabilities, not only your trading style and your wins and losses, as in the sense of, you don't have to win every trade to be profitable. You can lose a series of trade and still end up with a profitable week. And that's the probability of your strategy. You have to also look at the probability of your analysis. And that's how you develop that strategy. So you might say, okay, well, I noticed that I'm taking a lot of losses trying to take trades like this. So, I might not take trades like this anymore. That's defining your edge. And then thinking in probabilities is trusting that edge. And that's how you're going to get to, closer to being kind of like a robot, so to speak, with trading. Because there's a reason that algorithms dominate the markets, because they don't have emotion, and they just think. Ask, what is my current daily range for ES? I'm operating with this right here, like this to this low, and visualize a little more. Now, that could definitely be considered, because this is the highest high since we have taken this low, for sure. I mean, I see that, but I'm just operating with this just because it's low hanging fruit, and I can look at it in terms, and you can see that we have reacted quite nicely to coming into a premium here. This is a great example of sorry, excuse me, guys. Sorry, fuck, I completely thought I was saying. This shit hurts like a knife in my chest. But okay, this is an example of untapped liquidity in a premium. If we go up here, then when you start getting real moon boyish, and you start saying, okay, there's liquidity here. There's liquidity here, and I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but I'm trying to again, stepping stones. We got CPI tomorrow, which is going to be a massive effect in the markets. For instance, like if we just come down and like did this number and then reverse again, I'm still going to look at the same range, and I'm still going to look for these targets. So not shit's changing about that until we make a massive move down. Like, if the market really creates another daily range, like, something like this, we don't reverse. Yeah, then I'm not going to look for that. But until then, I'm not going to switch that up. Having trouble. I feel like there's just a lot of shorting interest building up right now. There's really not much of a reason for us to reverse where we're at if it wasn't going to be in this imbalance, you know? And it doesn't seem like price wants to hold. Now, it could come down and run this low and get another reaction to 5 minute. I wouldn't play the 1 minute there, but if you come down there on the 5 minute, you could be drawing up towards something. Somebody said, I appreciate that, man. I try my best to try to be a voice of reason, because at the end of the day, all the shit that I'm telling you guys is the only reason I even know that is because I have fucked up massively. When I first started trading, I lost a lot of money. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I just, was like a hopeless fucking gambler. And then I realized, like, hey, this could be a very serious career or form of income, or can really change things if you treat it right. And I noticed some of you guys are probably at that same point, especially some of the people that just started trading. But just those small things, like the things that I tell you, the things that took me a very long time to figure out, but were some of the simplest fixes to the biggest problems. Adeliki asked, how can I train my mind to focus in risk and reward and put everything aside, both the loss and the gain, especially the loss? How do I do it? So first off, what I always tell people is everybody talks about, 1R to me may be different than 1R to somebody else. So for instance, let's say 1R, I think that the kind of agreed rate, what that means is 1%. So maybe you seeing 1% of your account dwindle away is too stressful. So you can't maintain your composure, and you can't, resist from hitting that stop loss when you see it go a little bit in. So yes, if I'm okay, I've been coughing 2 weeks. Yeah, I think I have like long COVID, honestly. But back to the Annalise's question, the problem I think with most people who are hitting their stop loss too early is that they are risking too much. Now you don't have to, if you risk 0.5% and you still are feeling like that, risk 0.25%. If you're feeling like that still, risk 0.125%. If you're still feeling like it, trade on a demo. But taking out that fear will, it'll kind of, I guess it'll start to train your mind to trust yourself. Now, a lot of people's problem, here's a lot of people's problem, is that they think they can skip everything. So people learn order blocks and learn supply and demand. But if I ask you right now, what's your trading plan and what is your parameters for entering and exiting a trade? If you can't do that immediately, you have no system. If you can't say, I use this time frame for my bias, I use this time frame for that. If you don't have from A to B reasoning of why you're entering and exiting a trade, you have no system, and you will fail most of the time. You might hit big sometimes, but you'll lose it all over periods of time. So that's the first thing. Because a lot of people say, like, they read trading in the zone, and they're like, that's right, I just have no fear. And it's like, you also have no system. You're over trading, like, and I think a lot of it too, first thing is lower your risk. Second thing is have a system. If you have no system, then you're not going to be, because you have no idea what the fuck's going on. If you and I'm not saying this as any of you guys, I'm just saying, specifically if you don't have a system that you can write down that you trust, and I'm not saying you have to back test for 5 years or something. I'm saying that you've traded long enough. You might not even have back tested. You might have paper traded it, but you know that, it works. Because if you don't know what you're doing works, you will never be able to trade soundly, because you're always going to be scared, and you're always going to be operating in emotion, because you have no logic. If there's no system, there's no logic. There's no 2 + 2 = 4. You're just throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks. You might as well sports bet, because then it's out of your hands. Now, so first, lower your risk. Second, make sure you have a solid system. And third, which I think is the biggest slept on thing, And especially with trading and just guys in general, you don't, and I used to be like, you don't take care of yourself. Like, you don't meditate, you don't read, you don't have mindful time away from your phone, you have no discipline, you don't have physical exercise. You know, maybe it's one of these things, maybe it's all of them, but like, if you're not a mindful, aware, and consistent person, you will never be successful at trading. If you're just like always, super anxious, looking at the chart, just, oh fuck, dude, any plays, what's the next setup? Fuck, you're gonna fucking fail miserably, and nothing will save you from that, because again, like we talked about earlier, your biggest opponent in trading after the technicals, which are easy, is the hard part is yourself. So if you're just a anxious person, and this doesn't necessarily define you as who you are, it can be a stage in your life. Maybe you're going through something. Maybe you really need money to trade. Yeah, that's a recipe for failure. If you're just trading because you're like, I need money, I need to make money, I'll be surprised if you don't fail, because you have pressures. Maybe if you're trading and you have a really, hard time, your girlfriend just left you, or whatever, you're going through, you're also going to probably do bad, because the foundation of your execution and the difference between you and an algorithm that you're trying to track is emotion. That's it. So if you're emotionally unaware, if you're sporadic, if you're just a jittery, anxious person that's just, like a tweaker almost, like you're just tweaking to fucking do something all the time, you're going to fail miserably, and it's going to be painful. And no matter how many videos you watch, you're always going to do that. But that's just really anything in life, to be honest, and except very simple things, And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, as far as being in that. I've been there for sure. Everybody's been there. That's why I said it doesn't define you as a person. It's not like, oh, you just are that. But like, if you can work on that, because anybody can, you can go from being, an anxious, stressed, fucking just worry. You can go from that to being a optimistic, reasonable person. Everybody has a decision what they do. But that's like the most unspoken thing, because, a lot of people, oh, that's some pussy shit for something fucking stupid, and especially a lot of traders are young. I mean, I'm pretty young. I'm 26, but that's another thing that, like, I can't stress enough. We talked a little bit in the private class, and I'm not going to sit here and go all fucking Dalai Lama on you, but, fucking learn to meditate, learn to be aware of yourself, read a book every day, go outside, spend more time with your family. All those things are going to make you a better person, and it's going to make you a better trader. And if you don't believe that, cool, we'll agree to disagree, because I think that alone is probably, I should have started with that instead of reducing risk. Yeah, somebody just said the corny shit is what actually makes a difference. Meditating, working out, and I'm not saying you have to wake up at 3:30 in the morning and take a cold shower and run a fucking 5K. Hunter's asked us that in the Discord. Now, if you do that, then fuck yeah, that's awesome. But there's also this like stupid ass, fucking dumbass Andrew Tate mentality, which is just selling it to young boys that you have to be like a fucking Spartan to be successful. You have to fucking just you fucking take cold showers twice a day, and all this, and it's like that shit that is literally used to sell to like weak people and people that are in terms of need. That's not that's not reality. What reality is, just not being hard on yourself, focusing on being just a little bit better every single day. He said top G, nothing at all. I'm sorry, but that dude's I mean, he's not an idiot. He plays on people that believe in that shit, but that's not true. It's just that's it's not alpha at all. It's like the opposite. But it's just playing on like young kids. But it's basically dudes who never can get bitches and hate bitches because they hate fucking girls, and they say fuck this bitch, this fuck that. But it's like, you just hate women, and you don't get women, and you're mad about it. That's mostly what I see with that. Not saying anybody that is listening to this, but I'm just saying that's what I see with that crowd. But again, all that shit is just fucking bullshit. Like, humans know what they need to do to feel good. Like, whenever you do something that feels good or doesn't feel good, So it's like, if you take care of yourself, you meditate, you read, you are mindful, journal, not trading, just journal. You have a goal, you have a purpose of what you're doing and why you're doing it. All that stuff is going to come in tenfold into what kind of trader you are. So there's the therapy lesson for you guys. But no, that's just something that I have been through that before too, you know, like where you're not, this actually doesn't look bad here. But again, it's low probability because we're so close to that draw. But what was I gonna say? Where was I going with that? Just some of the chart I forgot. But yeah, I think that's going to be a huge factor in how successful you are in not only trading but anything. And once you get over that hump, you'll know it. You know, I used to be like the most anxious. So yeah, here's a great question. So he said, "How much did I lose before I got consistent?" You know, that's a tricky one. So like, for instance, when I started trading like super heavily, like I had been off and on involved with trading crypto only since the first bull run. But when I started really trading for like, you know, like every day I'm looking at charts, you know, that's kind of like what I'm doing. That was in 2020. And I had came up pretty fat off of equity. So thankfully, I was in a position to where, you know, I was kind of playing with house money. But I don't want to get into numbers and stuff, but I was up a fair amount, you know, a pretty good amount. And I remember that the time that I was when I was thinking in my head when I was telling you guys, like I realized like, hey, you're being a fucking idiot. And you know, that time I had lost like 25 racks in like one day. And I was on a call with Glacier. You guys can ask him. It was the first. I'll show you exactly. I can tell you exactly where it happened, how it happened, everything. So it was right here, like this area. No. Oh yeah, no, it was right there. So this is where I really started like, and you can see that's not that long ago. It's like a year and 10 months ago, almost 2 years ago. And that's where I realized like, you know, because I tried to short everything like a fucking idiot. I was like, yep, top's in. We're going back down. I just like shorted. It was like Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. And this is before I traded, you know, price action. I was using fucking all sorts of indicators, and I tried to short down in here and got. I mean, you can see what happened. I got eviscerated. So, you know, and it could have been a lot worse. Like the only reason I even closed it was just because of those numbers. Like, and I didn't get licked. I could have been far worse. But you know, that was where I realized, like, hey, like, yeah, you're being a fucking idiot. But thankfully, I had bought a ton of crypto through like here, you know, so it wasn't like the end of the world. You know, I was kind of playing with house money. So lost, I really didn't like. I wasn't worse off than I was before I started. So I don't really consider it a loss. Like I was still far. We were sitting pretty after all this. I started buying like mid June ish, like XLM. I bought XLM, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. I had like Ethereum from like, I think it was like $200. I didn't hold it to the top though. It was like somewhere in this area right here. So fucking Glacier got it at like $80 or something crazy like that. It was like the absolute bottom. He bought it like the day of the COVID crash. It was like average was like 87. And like I can't remember how much it was. It was like 100 Ethereum or some, or no, it was like 25 or 30 Ethereum or something crazy. I remember that. But yeah, so you know, you can go through periods like that, and that's usually what is the catalyst for, you know, becoming the best trader you are. I don't think I know any traders that are very good that haven't went through some kind of serious loss, whether it was a couple $100 and that was your last couple hundred, or whether you're some whale that lost a couple 100,000. You know, it's the same. It's proportional. I said, talking about Aaron Tate, he has a genius business. Yeah, he is a genius. He plays on fucking little kids who get 0 girls and makes a lot of money. That's why I said he's not an idiot by any means, but he knows what he's doing. And then he has multi-level marketing. Like his Discord is like literally like the whole thing of the Discord. Because I was watching a video on this guy who like bought it, and it was totally transparent. Like he like went in there like from the start, like just let you see it. It's literally like the whole thing is just like getting people to, you know, they give people a code for 1 month, not a recurring code, and then they give them a like a half. What was it, like a half of the month or something, and then they don't give them shit. And that's like the whole thing. Like it's just teaching you affiliate marketing. And they have like some crypto, which is like, you can go in there and see for yourself how great that is. So he said, why did FTT crash? A lot of reasons. Very basically they went insolvent. They had no money. Does ICT method work in crypto? Yeah, absolutely. If you go back to the beginning of this video, we go over a ton of, or not a ton, a trade. Well, actually, went over a couple trades that we use ICT smart money concepts. That's why I put it. I wouldn't lead you wrong. I know it's in the picture you probably saw on Twitter or wherever you found me. He said news driven or premeditated. Yeah, right. It's like that's the thing. Like, right. Literally. And on top of this, like look where it happened. Like when crypto's like up in this area. Like really? Yeah, it's so, and then if you look on Ethereum, you know, so I know Rec Proof posted a bunch about that. So I'm not taking credit like I called that or anything, but that's obviously what's playing out now. Ethereum has a lot of room to go. So I said Casper calls me making me bread consistently. It's on Discord, not the YouTube. Yeah, Johnny has a good point. So ETH at 350 to 500 is a steal. He's not wrong. I have this level. What is this from? It's like a monthly order block, I think. Yeah, we've talked about this for a while. Like the overall, like next monthly level that would be like a nice generational bottom type shit potentially. It's like this 434 on Ethereum. But again, it doesn't have to go all the way down there. Like we talked about yesterday. Theoretically, this massive expansion would still be considered bullish, in my opinion, until you get all the way down here. Because even that's why that would be like the massive fucking. But you have this right here, this fair value gap that we're in. If we pip this low, that's going to be a very telling sign of where we're at. But if you look, that's not that far from this low. So the equal lows right here too. That could be the target. I mean, we'll see. But again, until crypto starts shifting up on a daily chart, like we went over yesterday, because it's funny, we talked about potentially reversing if it was just manipulation, but obviously it ended up that was not the case. But we were coming down to this fair value gap. We were on stream yesterday, and it was like, okay, well, if we get a shift here, that would be super bullish because there's the daily shift. But you see that obviously that did not occur. So no dice there. Price sent it to zero. Ethereum's going to $5. No, I'm just kidding, but you guys get what I mean. Yeah, pyramid scheme. That's what that whole Discord is. Bitcoin at 12K. It's very possible. I still, if we still stay, like again, the lows where we're at are going to be pretty. Ethereum and Bitcoin being this massively far apart in this divergence, it's a questionable one because it's so big. But you could say this is bullish. Now, again, it's going to be time before you can confirm that. What you'd need is something like that, and it's not going to just be that clear. It's going to be probably painful consolidation if it even occurs. So it's too early to start saying reversal yet, but if it does, that would be extremely bullish because where we're at in the monthly chart. Because Bitcoin hadn't hit the monthly fair value gap until we took the lows. Another thing too, if you look right here where we're sitting, is that monthly breaker block. But this goes all the way down. It's a massive zone. So oh man. Well, on that note, guys, went over a little over an hour. So I appreciate you guys for hanging out. I'm gonna do my best I'll probably stream every day. I usually don't let much get me down, but I feel like shit. I won't lie. Hopefully I don't have long COVID. Okay, let's just fucking figure this out because I've heard this. Is it actually like the symptoms of having it? Okay, that's what I thought. It's post the Recover Initiative. But I don't think it's that though. I keep saying that. My girl's like, we don't have fucking long COVID because we both have it at the same time. So I don't even know why I keep saying that. The fucking propaganda's got to me. My daughter had the flu, but that was like 2 weeks ago. So it could be just going around. I don't know. It doesn't feel like the flu though. It's like a super deep, dry cough that is like just like terrible. It's like a fucking like a burning sensation. Let's take a look at ES for a hop off one last time. Yeah, so I think it's pretty clear it's moving down. If we can get a raid, either way, really here, you could play a raid to the downside with a reversal. I would be more hesitant to play a long one unless the 5 minute goes bullish with a shift, or if we run up and take liquidity somewhere around here and then we get a 1 minute shift, you could look for sells. Now, where that would be, where I would be looking for that, I should say, would be dependent on a couple things. So just take a look to potentially give you guys some areas. I need to hide this because it's too much fucking shit. Here's this getting memed. So this is why I sat stops to break even too early here and kind of screwed myself out of 3R. But there's an example of, I'm not perfect either. I make mistakes, Oh, I just did this and it worked. Anyway, man, it's like fucking wonky. Yeah, I mean, this low could be of interest. And this low, if we start showing more bearish price action. But again, I think today's going to be kind of weird, and it has already been weird just because we have CPI tomorrow. On that note, guys, I really appreciate everything. If you could like and subscribe and comment, do all that, smash that fucking sub button. No, I'm just kidding. But all the YouTuber shit, if you could do that, that would help me out a lot. Can I imagine a bearish CPI? Yeah, for sure. Can definitely imagine that. It's very fresh in my mind from September 13th. It was a great trading day, though, afterwards. But anyways, yeah, I really appreciate you guys. Let's see, actually, I'll answer the questions. Everyone is asking or saying FTX is a black swan event, but I don't see it that way. We are still in the bear market. I can see that point. I mean, that's reasonable. Flu's been going around. Yeah, so that's probably it. I'm not going to read Joe Money's comment. So I said, time to start chugging tea, lemon, and honey. Yeah, I have some TheraFlu, some green tea. All right, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow at noon. Yeah, I appreciate you all coming through. If you need anything, you know how to get at me. Peace.